Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and in today's video you might be noticing something quite interesting with the matchmaking, and that is because recently the FV215B was auctioned out, and when the FV215B, of which I think there were 20,000 of them on the European server, which there were 20,000 buyers on the European server, was released, all at the same time, the matchmaker descended into madness. And so I thought the best kind of tank to play when the matchmaker descends into madness will be a pretty crazy tank. Or a wheeled vehicle. A lot of people don't really want to call this thing a tank because of course it doesn't have tracks. I'm playing the EBR 105 as the fastest vehicle inside the game. And a lion, quite rightly, is telling me to fall back in this scenario, as well as an FV215B183. However, I really want to get that early vision off to be able to enable my team to see exactly where they're going. And I could clearly see here that, things were going to get rather campy, especially when literally over half of the enemy team are tier 10 tank destroyers. This reminds me of back in the day when tank destroyers were far more prominent in the game than they are now. You'd see a lot more TDs inside the game. And so you'd have these crazy rounds where it really just felt like it was Tank Destroyer City. Luckily, I continue the fall back calling that was done to me by the FV215B, of which there are 5 of them on my team, so I don't know which one it was. I guess I can always hold control and scroll up to then suggest to my Grilla, my FV405, and the FV215B, who is towards my left, to fall back as well. And we can see that the FV405 and the Grilla have actually fallen back, and so now I actually have a pretty sweet gun line behind me. However, having a pretty sweet gun line behind me doesn't mean that it's going to work, and in this kind of situation, usually the team that camps is going to lose. But also, in this scenario, it's about creating a plan that might actually give your team a chance to win. And I know that with one of our light tanks, which it's a damage-dealing light tank, it's not really a scout light tank in the form of the 13105, already being vanquished, that now we're in a bit of a tricky scenario. But oh, hello, T100LT. You went in thinking that maybe you could be able to get yourself a huge amount of spotting. And oh, what's this? The EBR gets one shot. And I decide to fire and reveal my position. But what? I don't actually get spotted there by the T100. And so the enemy team are none the wiser as to where I am. And just like that, I got rid of both of the enemy's most important vehicles in this matchup. They might not be the most dangerous ones with regards to how hard they're going to hit you, but your job as a light tank on maps like Prokhorovka, Malinovka, and Muravanka, which I'd say are the 3 best light tank maps in the game, is to win that duel against the light tanks on the enemy. And then, of course, you can use your camo, you can use your vision to be extra sneaky and hopefully be the eyes that your team so desperately needs inside a matchup like this. So now we're up to 3,500 spotting, although the game is still looking a little bit bleak. And unfortunately, it's not just the light tanks that are trying to flank across the south here, and the FV215B183, one of many on the enemy team, are now in the woods stopping me from advancing. So I'm just going to go back to my bush. This bush is awesome. Nobody really expects you to be in some of these central bushes in Muravanka, and there are a lot of them. But as you can see, it provides excellent vision, especially on all of the tanks that greedily want to get up on this ridgeline and try and shoot all of the players here. But you might notice something in the chat. We have the amazingly named Willy Killer 1 say, "Worst team ever, play Barbie." Okay, well, firstly, Willy Killer 1. I'm not sure if anybody who is called that should be talking about Barbie. Or maybe it's actually quite an aptly named... Let's not go there. But one thing I'd quite recommend to you, Willy Killer 1, is that don't sit not at the back of the map in your artillery in a scenario like this. There's a lovely, wonderful position over here that you could have been, which was not at the front getting spotted by all of the enemy tanks. So... I guess, I mean, he must be right. I must need to go and play Barbie. I'll have to put it on my to-do list. Maybe that is the secret of being able to get good inside World of Tanks. Maybe this is what I've been missing after all of these years. Now, unfortunately, the Batchat 15558 is kind of right. That a team that camps in the corner is going to lose the vast majority of their games, so this is not a suitable gameplay. you have to try and defend the flanks before they've been lost, or alternatively, make your opponents lose a lot of hit points and tanks for having to take those positions. In this scenario, we could have had tank destroyers at the back, maybe one of our medium tanks at the front in the woods with some supplementary vision from myself, and hopefully punish the enemy as they made their way through the east. However, it's also about adapting to your team and what they are going to do. And in this scenario, I really didn't think I stood any chance inside the woods getting any kind of fire on this position, well, from the center position of Muravanka. And so by falling back and using this bush, it's actually giving our tank destroyers a chance to be able to get into the battle, because they got lots of lovely bush locations. And it's quite impressive to me that even an FV4005 can just remain hidden in this position. Really shows you how thick these trees are. And if you are behind trees in scenarios like this, as soon as the light tanks are gone, and usually those are the vehicles that are using the commander's vision systems, then it becomes a playground for the TDs. And so this game has just gone absolutely perfectly. And I was certainly thrilled about it to be up to 8,000 assistants. Not having done so much damage so far this game, but now that we know where every single one of the enemy vehicles are, apart from the artillery, and we've got them all grouped together, not wanting to move for fear of getting clubbed by some of the tank destroyers on the enemy team, now it's time to hunt. So we firstly shut down an FV215B183, and now, seriously, all of the, 7 vehicles on the enemy team are now just clumped together. Some of them are very healthy, so we have to watch out for it. And immediately you notice that tanks like the Gorilla are starting to fall back and change their avenue of approach, because they realize that their main chance of winning this battle is probably to be able to get rid of the T110E3. So you'll notice me feverishly trying to communicate with my team here, says, where is SPG? Where is SPG? Because I know that the T110E3 just got hit by a self-propelled gun, and so he will know exactly where he is. And in this situation, where time is of the essence, and now I'm leaving my team blind by leaving my bush, I ask once again in caps, where is SPG? E3. Now, I realized at the time that maybe I was suggesting there'd be an E3, but I hope that the E3 understands that I was actually talking to them in this scenario. So somebody actually pings the map as to where they would be, just in time. Thank you very much for that, E3. And so we get to shut down the artillery. And now it should be fairly obvious to any of the decent players on the enemy team where the EBR is. But it doesn't look like this AMX M454 has reacted quick enough to the scenario. And while you are very powerful frontally, Kentucky cried frickin' on the AMX M454's name there. Oh my goodness gracious, some very creative names in this game of World of Tanks. Your side armor is definitely not very good. And we are now pumping out the kills against these weakened tanks. That's 3 kills in 3 shots. Or is it actually 4 kills in 4 shots here? And we blind fire at the 114 SP2, and they are on 400 hit points less, so we know that that one has gone in. And hopefully this slow reload on this vehicle isn't going to hold us back from putting yet another shell into the upper hull armor of the weakly armored 114 SP2. And they don't even know where I am because I'm using those bush locations pretty well. And now it's about getting behind this slow, cumbersome FV215B. Oh, did you just spend 350,000 free experience on this tank and you didn't even paint it? Look, this is the guy who needs to go and watch Barbie Horse Adventures, right? Come on, at least paint your vehicle that you spent 350,000 on before you race to jump in and take it for a spin. What can I say? 6 kills in this game. I take 1 shell there from the 114. I actually drive like a bit of a goon at the end of this battle, ramming the 114 for 72, and I finish them off, securing 7 kills here. That is half the enemy team dealt with. And shout out to the FE405 on my team for actually falling back, pulling off a lot of big meaty shots to help me get that crazy spotting. And thanks for the kind words at the end of the game. And this was just the epitome of light tank carry. Outscout your opponents, of which they're 2 light tanks. They got like a 63 combined between them. And they were both very good players, 56% win rate players. Maybe they were as excited as me at trying to be a little bit sneaky and sign up in a light tank when they knew the horde of FV215B183s was going in. But can we take a moment to appreciate what a mad lad Archer 82 must be that he signs up in an FE4005 when he knew that there was going to probably be 7 FE215 B183s on the enemy team. I definitely wouldn't have done that. So we got a scout medal for spotting 2/3 of the enemy team at the start of the battle. We get a patrol duty for that 8,000 spotting, and we get a Top Gun as well for being filthy at the end of the battle. And that is the stage where the light tanks thrive. And if you can be alive for that latter part of the game, then it's sometimes easy pickings, especially when you've got mobility, to hound down the weakened tanks. But let me clarify, I'm not suggesting that you should camp in your light tanks until the latter part of the battle, unless you're doing a whopping amount of spotting, hopefully from safety. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today in this definition of a light tank carry. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And I guess there's only one thing really left for me to do. I mean, this has got to be the secret to World of Tanks, right?
Hi, welcome to Barbie Horse Adventures Wild Horse Rescue. It's great to get away from the city. I've been looking forward to this all year.
Fresh air. I can't wait to see those beautiful mountains again. Me too. There's nothing like a weekend of
Getting in World of Tanks.
Look out, nature. Here we come.